And the state of Illinois is beginning to take a closer look at reparations. Illinois was the second state to create a commission to study what reparations would look like here.
And we here at NBC5 decided to take a look at the lives of African Americans historically in this state as a means to consider why there is a desire for repair. Marion Brooks is here now with more on this story. Marion.
Well, Kate and Alex, it's a very interesting issue. That's one a lot of people care a lot about. We begin this historic look back in Galena, Illinois, a one-time boom town in the northwestern part of the state near the Mississippi River. And we focus our attention today on Swansea Adams. Galena, Illinois today looks much like it did in the 1800s. At that time, along these very streets, Swansea Adams had his own business delivering water.
He would deliver fresh water buckets to all the stores on Main Street so that they would have drinking water.
Paul Harper is Swansea Adams' great-great-great-great-grandson. He came from Minnesota all the way to Galena and the city's history museum to learn more about his ancestor.
This was a petition that he signed. His original signature on this petition.
It's amazing to see like the road that he had to go through to get for us to be where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
The road for Swansea Adams was not easy. According to the book The History of Joe Daviess County, published in 1878, Swansea was born in Virginia in 1796 and enslaved in Kentucky under the Duncan brothers. He was brought to the Galena area by James Duncan in 1823 to work the lead mines of the day. But Swansea Adams fought for his freedom. In the book Redemption Songs, Swansea is noted as having sued for his freedom twice, despite being kidnapped back to a slave state. He was eventually emancipated by a former fellow slave and returned to Galena a free man in 1832.
Here's the certificate of him buying Lot 27 on Bench Street. He got it
For $5.
Yeah, in 1835.
This is St. Michael's Rectory, built in 1896. But before it stood here, Swansea Adams had a home here. So despite everything that he'd been through, he was able to become a homeowner.
So this is where Swansea's house was.
Right here?
Right here.
Holy schmoly. So he lived right here.
He lived right here.
Just in a different house.
Yeah, in a one-story frame house that was built in 1843 by J.C. Spare.
That's crazy.
And the Galena Public Library has records that date back to the early 1800s. And the librarians here showed us several references to Swansea. And this is from 1850?
1854.
1854.
A one-story house right here.
Mm-hmm.
Little did he know his ancestors would make it all the way to North Dakota, Minnesota, California, all over the world.
Swansea married Margaret Menard in 1845 in the First Presbyterian Church, right down Bench Street. He went on to have several children, including Horace Adams, who moved to North Dakota and worked as a barber.
This kind of shows the lineage where that's me, my father, my grandfather, Mattie Mabel Adams, his grandmother. And she is the daughter of Horton Adams, who is the son of Swansea Adams.
Swansea Adams died in 1880 at the age of 83. Paul was able to find the plot where his fourth great-grandfather is buried in an unmarked grave. He plans to buy a marker. And as the self-described family historian, Paul is grateful to have a fuller story to tell everyone back home. As for reparations, he does plan to share the story of Swansea Adams with the commission.
You can never completely right that wrong. What I would like, what I think is important, is an apology from this nation towards the Black Americans, the African Americans, an apology from the highest level, the office of the president.
The Illinois African Descent Citizens Reparations Commission will be holding hearings throughout the state to hear more about the stories like that of Swansea Adams and from his descendants like Paul Harper. The next one will be held on July 13th at Kennedy King College. This is all really just the beginning of a process to sort of gather information, gather data. And even though, interestingly, Illinois was a free state, it still allowed slave labor. So there was still slave labor here in the state of Illinois. And I think it's important that we do sort of examine what happened all around the country, but particularly where we live, just to know the facts, and then we can make decisions from there.
Really interesting to see it through the lens of this family. We know there are millions of stories like this, some known, some can't be known, but just really interesting to go back and take a look into that history.
Yeah, you know, we both love history so much. It's fascinating to see it, and it's amazing what Galena has. I recommend a visit to Galena, Illinois, because they have great records and everything.
Yeah, they helped out big time.
It's very cool to see.
Thanks,
Marion.
You're very welcome.